So, one day I was sitting in front of my bookshelves thinking, and I had the best idea ever. So I put on my glasses and I started to research and research and research. Well, technically, reading might not be considered research, but in this case, I definitely think it was considered research. And then I made it, the absolute perfect list, and I know you guys are gonna love it. So buckle your seatbelts and get ready for the ultimate KU horror list. Hello bookish besties, and welcome back to my channel. I'm so excited for today's video. We're going to be talking about some Kindle Unlimited horror books that I think will get us girls through Rot Girl Spring and Summerween. I've been craving horror books so much lately, but I consume them so fast and never really enjoy the covers enough to want to buy them physically. So that's why I love them being on Kindle Unlimited. I also really like to immersive read with them, so I normally get them off of Libby or Hoopla or some kind of audiobook platform. We're going to talk about 13, and no, I didn't pick this number specifically. It just so happened to be 13, which makes it extra spooky. But we're going to be going through 13 Kindle Unlimited horrors that I have either read or am anticipating reading that I think you guys will really like and that fit the vibe of that Rot Girl Spring and Summerween. We're going to start off with my most recent read, which is Maeve Fly by C.J Leede. Now, Maeve Fly is a little bit on the extreme horror end towards the end of the book, and I would check your trigger warnings before reading this book and any of these books on this list, as a matter of fact. But Maeve Fly, she works, that's her name, she works at Disneyland as a Disney princess. She talks a lot about how women shouldn't need to be a victim in order to commit atrocities, basically, and she likes to constantly talk about that because that is her whole life story. And I'd say this one is about her friendships, her relationships, and just the relationships with everybody around her, how she interacts in those relationships, how those relationships see her, and basically her whole entire thing is how everything comes to an end at one point in time. It is very vulgar, it is very straightforward and direct, and it says some things that you would not expect anything to ever say, so it's very shocking in that manner, and it's basically American Psycho but with a woman. I did recently give that one 3.5 stars, really enjoyed it. The audiobook was great, and I also did read it on Kindle Unlimited. I highly recommend either format. Moving on to another read that I literally just finished not long ago, and that's episode 13. This is by DiLouie, and I also read this one immersively through audiobook and Kindle Unlimited. I do actually highly recommend the audiobook for this one since it is like a mixed media format and there's multiple people. The audiobook is actually fully voice casted and there's sound effects, there's music. I think it was really fun. I know some people didn't enjoy the audiobook, but I actually really liked it. There's a different voice for each character. Like I said, it's fully like voice acted and everything. So I thought that helped me remember who was talking at certain points, and it just helped it come together as a full story. And this is basically about someone writing a book about episode 13 that this TV show called Fade to Black put out that had immense paranormal activity in it. So it's about a group of friends that does a paranormal activity show together, and they stumble upon this house that is insane and leads to something they never thought was possible. And I think it's really fun because it goes through raw footage, it goes through their journals, it goes through some of the bios from the website, it goes through a bunch of like multi-mixed media that this person is putting together, so you as the reader can see if you think that all of this is true, what happened. So I think it was really fun. I also gave that one a 3.5 stars and would highly recommend that one too. The next one I have not read, but I've heard really good things about this one, and it is Hidden Pictures by Jason Rekulak. This is about a woman that's fresh out of rehab, and she goes and is like a live-in nanny for this little boy Teddy, and he's really sweet, he's really quiet, he draws a lot, and she really starts to bond with him, and then his drawings become extremely lifelike and basically shows a man dragging a woman's lifeless body and like burying the body and all of these creepy things. Mallory needs to figure out what he's drawing and basically try to either solve this murder or figure out what's going on so she can save Teddy. And I think this one is going to be really interesting, and I know that there are the actual images in the book that like Teddy's drawing, so that's another form of like mixed media that I'm really going to enjoy, and I think you guys will too. And again, this one gives like, you know, the outdoor vibes with like the murder mystery. So I think this one is perfect for a summer read. The next one is Slewfoot by BROM, and I'm really obsessed with BROM's books. The only one I own is Krampus, but I've been wanting to read this one for a very long time, and I'm going to just read you the description because it's a little hard to like parse out what it's about without reading the full description. It says, Connecticut, 1666, an ancient spirit awakens in a dark wood. The wild folk call him father, slayer, protector. The colonists call him Slewfoot, demon, devil. To Abatha, a recently widowed outcast, alone and vulnerable in her pious village, he is the only one she can turn to for help. Together they ignite a battle between pagan and Puritan, one that threatens to destroy the entire village, leaving nothing but ashes and bloodshed in their wake. This terrifying tale of bewitchery features more than 24 of BROM's haunting full-color paintings, brilliant end papers, fully immersing readers in the wild and unforgiving world. So what I really love about BROM is that he is actually like a painter slash illustrator, and he draws everything for his books, and it's so gorgeous. It sets the scene perfectly, and I think this one's perfect for either springtime, summer, or fall if you want to wait till fall, because it is that like pagan, naturalistic witchery that's going on while also calling on like the devil, and that just always gives me the vibe of like spring and summer. I'm not sure why, but those are the vibes, and I think it's going to be an amazing read. I actually want to buy that one too just because his art is so beautiful, but I do recommend this one. I haven't read it yet, but I already know to recommend it because BROM is just amazing. Then we have The Last House on Needless Street by Catriona Ward, and this was one of my first kind of introductions to thrillers slash horrors, and I think it was really interesting because it's very mind-bending, this one. So you're in the perspective of, I think he's mentally ill. So you're in the perspective of a mentally ill man, I think, who just lost his mother. I read this a while ago, so bear with me. And there's a little girl who goes missing, and everyone suspects it's him because he was there that day. And then you're getting the perspective of him, you're getting the perspective of a little girl that happens to be in his house, and then you're getting the perspective of a talking cat. So you're getting all of these perspectives, and this story is unwinding, and I'm not going to give away any more than that because it is absolutely mind-bending, and once you figure out the twist, everything starts to click, and it is phenomenal. I couldn't even have told you what was going on. It's very fever dreamy. I love using that word because I think it describes things that are mindfucky very well. When I read The Last House on Needless Street, I gave it 4 stars, and that definitely still holds. This is another one that I have not read yet, but it sounds extremely intriguing and I've been looking at lately. It's Manhunt by Gretchen Felker-Martin. I'm gonna read you the description of this one as well, just because it's very hard to figure out what it is about. So let me read you the description. Beth and Fran spend their days traveling the ravaged New England coast, hunting feral men and harvesting their organs in a gruesome effort to ensure they'll never face the same fate. Robbie lives by his gun and one hard-learned motto: other people aren't safe. After a brutal accident entwines the 3 of them, this found family of survivors must navigate murderous turfs, a sociopathic billionaire bunker brat, and awkward relationship dynamics, all while outrunning packs of feral men and their own demons. So I just think that sounds extremely interesting. It's a little bit of a different one because it's apocalyptic, and there's like a band of quirky characters, which I think will be really fun. But again, I don't know why apocalyptic vibes always, like, I just always think about like a summer read is like a good time for an apocalyptic story. I don't know why, but that one is high on my list. I want to read that one soon. It sounds amazing. This one I'm super excited about. I've been seeing it in the bookstore and I've been wanting to pick it up, and then I couldn't get it on audiobook, but this is Bat Eater and Other Names for Cora Zeng, and this is by Kylie Lee Baker. I think this is a more recent release, which I'm very excited about, and it says, in this explosive horror novel, a woman is haunted by inner trauma, hungry ghosts, and a serial killer as she confronts the brutal violence experienced by East Asians during the pandemic. So it says, Cora Zeng is a crime scene cleaner, washing away the remains of brutal murders and suicides in Chinatown. But none of that seems so terrible when she's already witnessed the most horrific thing possible: her sister, DiLouie, being pushed in front of a train. Before fleeing the scene, the murderer shouted 2 words: Bat Eater. So the bloody messes don't really bother Cora. She's more bothered by the germs on the subway railing, the bare hands of a stranger, the hidden viruses in every corner, and the bite marks on her coffee table. Of course, ever since DiLouie was killed in front of her, Cora can't be sure what's real and what's in her head. She pushes away all feelings and ignores the advice of her aunt to prepare for the Hungry Ghost Festival when the gates of hell open, but she can't ignore the dread in her stomach as she keeps finding bat carcasses at crime scenes, or the scary fact that all her recent cleanups have been the bodies of East Asian women. As Cora will soon learn, you can't just ignore hungry ghosts. So I think this is extremely interesting because not only is it like a ghost story and she's haunted by ghosts, but she's also going through her own trauma with losing her sister, and she's also kind of following this serial killer around. So I want to see how this one will go, and I kind of hope it's super creepy. So the next one is What Moves the Dead by T. Kingfisher. I listened to this one on audiobook a long time ago, but I really want to do a reread because I don't feel like I fully appreciated it when I listened to it. So this is a reimagining of The Fall of the House of Usher. So there's a retired soldier named Alex, and they get word that their childhood friend Madeline Usher is dying. So they go to this like mansion that she lives in like the middle of the woods, and there is fungal growth that is possessing the wildlife around them, and Madeline like sleepwalks at night and she's hearing things, and Alex, this retired soldier, is just kind of trying to piece together what this is, and they're working with a psychologist and an American doctor that has no idea what's going on. So this one is just so perfect for like the Rock Girl Spring because it has to do with like the fungus and like infecting things. So this one was really good. Again, I really want to do a reread in order to give it the love and praise it deserves. When I read this one, I gave it 3 stars. I definitely think if I reread it, I could potentially give it a higher rating. Then we have one of my favorite horror books, and that is The Eyes Are the Best Part by Monika Kim. I was obsessed with this one when I read it. So it's basically about our main character, and their father left, and so she's kind of helping her mother through this time, and her mother is dating a man that is just fetishizing her. Our main character is going through a lot of rage on how she's treated and just going through a lot of strange events that are happening to her, and it turns gory and gruesome in the best way, and the ending is probably my favorite part. I gave this one 5 stars when I read it. It's definitely worth the read. It has beautiful writing and really strong emotions in it. Absolutely loved it. This one is a little bit more gothic horror and suspense. So this is Their Monstrous Hearts by Yigit Turhan. And this one just looks beautiful and sounds so interesting. A mysterious stranger shows up at Ricardo's apartment with some news. His grandmother, Turhan, has died, and Ricardo has inherited her villa in Milan along with her famed butterfly collection. The struggling writer is out of options. He's hoping the change of scenery in Milan will inspire him, and maybe there will be some money to keep him afloat. But Turhan's house isn't as opulent as he remembers. The butterflies pinned in their glass cases seem more ominous than artful. Turhan's group of mysterious old friends is constantly lurking, and there's something wrong in the greenhouse. As Ricardo explores the decrepit estate, he stumbles upon Turhan's diary, which might hold the key to her mysterious death, or at least give him the inspiration he needs to finish his manuscript, but he might not survive long enough to write it. And I just think that sounds so good. I am obsessed with like the idea of like bug pinning and that entire vibe, and also like something wrong in the greenhouse. That's just so like this vibe of like Rock Girl Spring, and I just love it. So naturalistic, and that natural horror really intrigues me, so I'm very excited for this one. The next one is Diavola by Jennifer Thorne. I'm obsessed with the cover of this one. It just gives the best creepy vibes. Anna has 2 rules for the annual Pace family destination vacation: tread lightly and survive. It isn't easy when she's the only one in the family who doesn't quite fit in. Her twin brother, Benny, goes with the flow so much he's practically dissolved, and her older sister Nicole is so used to everyone, including her blandly docile husband and 2 kids, falling in line that Anna often ends up in trouble for simply asking a question. Mom seizes every opportunity to question her life choices, and Dad, when not reminding everyone who paid for this vacation, just wants some peace and quiet. A gorgeous remote villa in tiny Monteperso seems like a perfect place to endure so much family togetherness until things start going off the rails. The strange noises at night, the unsettling warnings from the local villagers, and the dark, violent past of the villa itself. So this one gives like a completely different vibe from all the other ones, and this is more of like family drama and strife while also focusing on like a haunted kind of house, and I'm very excited for that. The next one is Mary by Nat Cassidy, and Nat Cassidy is an author that I've been wanting to try for a very long time. So I'm going to be talking about this one and their other book, Nestlings, and then I also want to read their new book that came out, When the Wolf Comes Home. So I'm very excited to talk about these next 2. This one is Mary is a quiet middle-aged woman doing her best to blend into the background. unremarkable, invisible, unknown to even to herself. But lately things have been changing inside Mary. Along with the hot flashes and body aches, she can't look in the mirror without passing out, and the voices in her head have been urging her to do unspeakable things. Fired from her job in New York, she moves back to her hometown, hoping to reconnect with her past and inner self. Instead, visions of terrifying, mutilated specters overwhelm her with increasing regularity, and she begins auto-writing strange thoughts and phrases. Mary discovers that these experiences are echoes of an infamous serial killer. Then the killings begin again. Mary is definitely going to find herself. That one sounds so good. So again, it's giving that same kind of vibe as Mavefly, where it's like the American Psycho. This one says it also blends that with mid. I just always love the vibes of like a female serial killer in a book. I think it's so interesting. And then I think it's also interesting that she's almost like possessed by this other infamous serial killer, so that's gonna be very intriguing. Then this one is Nestlings by Nat Cassidy. Anna and Reed needed a lucky break. The horrifically complicated birth of their first child has left Anna paralyzed, bitter, and struggling with mobility with her relationship with Reed, with resentment for her baby. That's about to change with the words any New Yorker would love to hear: affordable housing lottery. They won an apartment in the Deptford, one of Manhattan's most revered buildings with beautiful vistas of Central Park and stunning architecture. Reed dismisses disturbing events and Anna's deep unease and paranoia as the price of living in New York. People are odd, but he can't explain the needle-like bite marks on the baby. So this one is a mixture between Rosemary's Baby and Salem's Lot. So I think it's gonna give just really strange vibes and maybe a little bit of vampire in there. I'm hoping that one's good. I think Mary sounds a little bit better and more up my alley than Nestlings, but I think it will be something different. So those are the 13 books that I think are worth it to read on Kindle Unlimited. I'm very excited to read the ones that I was talking to you about that I haven't read yet, but for the ones that I have read, please know that I wholeheartedly recommend every single one of them. And I have just been in such a horror mood, like I've been saying, and that normally happens to me around this time and then around like Halloween time, but it's just not ending right now. If you guys want more horror recommendations, let me know. I've been reading horror for like the past year or so, so I have a ton of recommendations. If you made it this far in the video, let's leave a little skull emoji. Thank you guys for watching. It means the world to me. As always, happy reading. Love you. Bye.